The intent of this video is to introduce novice Zoom users into how to set up and schedule a Zoom meeting. So we have logged into the Zoom client application, and we're going to start by coming down to the Schedule button. Click on the button and it opens up a schedule meeting page, and in this we want to go to the topic, and we're going to name the meeting or rename the meeting to what it's intended. So this is Zoom scheduling. Spelled correctly. And we want to make sure then that we know what day the scheduling is going to take place. And so we're going to just click on the down arrow and we'll have it scheduled for the next day. And we want to make sure that we set the time that it's going to start. And so we're going to come down, and I want this to start at 10 a.m. and I want the meeting to run for 1 hour. So I'm checking on the date that it starts, the time it starts, the date that it ends is the same on the 25th, and I want it an hour long, so I want it to end at 11 a.m. It's not going to be a recurring meeting. This is a one-time training session, and we want to double check and make sure that we have this set for the correct time zone. I live in Eastern time zone, so that's where we want it to be set. So you would set this for whatever time zone you live in when you're doing your scheduling. We come down to meeting ID, and I would let the computer generate the ID for the meeting room by itself, and rather than using the personal meeting space, because the personal meeting space is where it's like if I'm logged in and people want to call me, if I have my Zoom account open, they can just dial directly into my personal room and have a conversation with me. So we're going to make sure it's checkmarked here for generate automatically and require a password. The computer system will generate an appropriate password. And we're going to come down and determine how we want the video connection set up. So in this case, let's set it for now so that the host video will be on when the participants log in, and the participants' video will be on when they log in. That way they can see one another as they come into the room. Sometimes if I have things that I have to continue to get done just before the meeting starts, I'll turn my video off so that I'm not worried or distracted. People aren't trying to have a conversation with me while I'm trying to get things ready. Let's come down to audio. And for the sake of the argument here, we don't necessarily know that everybody in the meeting that we're setting up has computer technology or a tablet or even a cell phone for that matter. So what we want to do is make sure that for audio connection, they can connect by telephone and they can connect by computer audio. Because I live in Canada, I want to make sure that people are dialing Canadian numbers, not numbers from the United States. And that's only because that's an extra long distance charge that we don't need. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to change this to Canada, and I'm going to uncheck the United States and click Done. So any of the phone numbers that appear in the invitation are going to appear as though they've come all the way from Canada, Canada only. And I want to link this into my Google Calendar. That's where it's actually going to set up the invitation and where people will be able to respond when they get the invitation as to whether they're going to join, and it will keep my calendar updated automatically. And then I'm going to check out some of these advanced options. If you don't want people to be able to come into the room until you get there, then you should make sure that you enable the waiting room. the meeting I'm setting up tomorrow, it's just for 2 people, and so I'm not going to worry about enabling the waiting room on this particular case. And if the person who is joining me is going to get in before me, that's been checked off in here. And normally I would have mute participants on entry. In this case, it's just the 2 of us. I'm taking that out. Only authenticated users can join. That means that you actually have to have a Zoom account. You'd be a registered Zoom user. And that can be a Zoom user with a free account. It just means that you have to be a Zoom registrant in order to get in. I'm not going to worry about that right now because the person I'm meeting with is already a Zoom user, and so I'm just not going to worry about that. I don't know whether I need to record the meeting or not, but I'm forgetful at times, so very often I get halfway through a meeting and realize, oh gee, I really did want that recorded. So what I'm going to do is I'm setting that to automatically record the meeting when it starts, and I'm going to have it store that recording on my computer's hard drive rather than in the cloud. If this were a meeting I was going to share the recording with all of the other people in here, then I might go ahead and say put it in the cloud, and then I can provide a link to this. And so now what I want to do is say, because I've finished everything I'm doing here, I want to say schedule. And so that's going to take me into my Gmail account. And so I'm going to make sure that I'm using my Gmail account. I'm confirming that and telling it to allow Zoom to connect. And here we have open now the Zoom window for my calendar. And you'll notice that it has all the information we need. It's a good idea to check. Meeting date is going to be April the 25th, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. April 25th is when it's going to end. It does not repeat. Here's the link to it. And down below it gives all of the details about it, including these phone numbers. And most of these phone numbers here, I think, are for the Toronto area. So for us, that's the closest area code that we would have. So it's still going to be a long distance charge for us, but it would be less than calling somewhere in the States, say. So here we're going to add a guest. And so I'm going to add a guest in here. Whoops. Guests. Add guest. Come on. There we go. And I'm going to add so it's just going to be me and send that now. I'm going to go ahead and click the Save button. And it says, would you like to send an invitation email to Google Calendar guests? Yes, I do want to send that email out to everyone who's participating. And so it shows my calendar then and all of the activities. And if I look around for Saturday, I see I have a Zoom meeting scheduled right here for Zoom training and training specifically on scheduling. That's all there is to it until we actually get to connecting to the meeting. Scheduling's pretty simple.